All right, welcome to our on-demand DIY how to replace or install a thermostat workshop. Man, am I excited that you're here. This is one of my favorite workshops to teach. This is one of the easiest things that you can do as a new homeowner, and man, it can really lead to cool savings. So welcome. Take it from me. Yeah, I've worked for Home Depot for a long time, but still, when I got my first home, I was extremely intimidated by really anything DIY, much less something with electrical wires in it. You know what? Day one. That is right. The first day I ever bought my house, I had movers going all behind me. I picked up a smart thermostat. I wanted to get to that savings quick and put it in myself. Took me a little bit of time, and it may take you some time as well. So as we're going through this, just know it's okay to take some time. It's okay to take some deep breaths. And of course, just give yourself a little bit of patience. You can absolutely do this. All right, couple things that we got to go over today. First, you actually got to pick out the right thermostat. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is most of the things that you need to figure out how to do can be done just by picking the right thermostat for your system. So next, thermostat replacement. Now, today I am going from a Honeywell programmable thermostat to a Google Nest learning thermostat. If that's not what you're doing, that is absolutely okay because the skill sets we're going to go over in this video, they are going to be transferable to basically any type of thermostat that you're going to be putting in. So let's start with selecting the right thermostat. There's actually a couple different thermostats that are out there. First, the manual, right? You've seen these around. You may have rented a place with them. Check out that PowerPoint slide. You'll see that old Honeywell design with that dome. Very popular, kind of retro now, so it's gaining popularity again. In fact, it's what the Google Nest thermostat was modeled after. But it would turn it to set a temperature. You may have seen something else kind of like this, just with a lever on it, right? You select the temperature, your system comes on. When it gets that temperature, it turns off. Basic, but it gets the job done. Cheapest of the thermostats. A lot of you will be replacing these with other thermostats. One of those thermostats is a programmable thermostat. And they're called programmable because you can actually put different programs into these thermostats. And you do that for energy saving, right? I'll give you a great example. During the week, I typically work from my home, but my girls, my wife, they're out and about, they're at school, they're at work, they're doing their thing, and I was raised by energy guardians, so I don't like much electricity. I bundle up during the winter, and I'm in t-shirts and shorts during the summer, and I've got the air conditioning cranked kinda high, a little bit temperature, the heat down a little bit low, just to save some money. But at night or on the weekends when we're all home, we like to live comfortably. So, we've got it programmed to save us some money during the weekdays and come on and use that energy on the weekends and weeknights. You can do the same thing, or you can program it a lot of different ways, a lot of different options, of course, depending on the programmable thermostat that you get. The whole point of programming, like we said, is savings. When it comes to energy savings, when cooling costs, live in Atlanta, it is hot in the summer. So we're using up the energy to cool our homes. We can save 15, 25% on cooling costs. That's a huge chunk of change. In the winter, it's not so bad as the northern states, but it fluctuates a lot. So we're still trying to heat up a lot of the time. When it comes to heating costs, you can save up to 33%. So again, we're talking about huge amounts of money that you can save when you go to a programmable thermostat. And then, of course, there's the smart or the Wi-Fi thermostat. Now, this exactly like it sounds, next to your internet, and there's an app for that, right? You can control that thermostat from apps. Sometimes you can even connect them to your voice assistants if you happen to have Google, Alexa, smart hubs, these different types of things. There's a lot of luxury that comes along with that neatness, I like to say. Almost all smart and Wi-Fi thermostats are also programmable, so they can give you that extra savings, justifying the cost, but some even have learning technology. It's where Google Nest, and the one I'm going to be installing today, has really gotten popular. People don't like to program things in all the time. They don't like to try and dictate when weather is going to change and how come it's going to be really, really cold. These learning thermostats not only learn your schedule, but are connected to weather apps so they know what is and isn't coming in. and they learn to program themselves, saving you even more money. Oftentimes, if you partner with energy savings or events that these thermostats do, accounts like Google or Ecobee, those types of things, during the coldest winters of the month, coldest months of the winter or hottest months during the summer, they can ask you to provide additional saving, often adjusting that temperature even by a degree. So they really take that energy savings to the next level. Plus, partner with your HVAC company, partner with your energy company. Oftentimes, they will give rebates on your bills or your services because you have a smart thermostat. Really, really great thing to have. I love having one in my home, like I said, for the convenience. My girls can do it, my wife can do it, and I run downstairs every time I get uncomfortable upstairs. I can do everything from the phone, in bed, in my office, at the desk, wherever. So those are the types of thermostats. Now, the type of thermostat that you choose is completely dependent on the system that you have. This is the biggest miss that our customers usually make when it comes to selecting the right thermostat. Your HVAC system has only the capability that it has. So your thermostats may have all this amazing luxury, cool, bells and whistles, the whole works, but your system can't use them. Sometimes doesn't have the wires to support that power. So how do you determine what kind of system you have? Go to your system. On your furnace, those are going to usually be located in a basement, an attic, garages, sometimes in utility closets, or even under the house. Go to the furnace, look at that main label. You're going to end up doing the same thing to your outside unit. When you look at that label, you're looking for a few important words. One, stage. There are one stage, two stage, variable stage, and multi stage systems. And basically, that means how many settings do they have? How many tiers do they have? A one stage system turns on, turns off. That's it. But a two-stage system, yes, it's got on, it's got off, but it's also got a medium or a baby bear, like we like to say in my house. Variable, multi-stage system, they have multiple settings so that they can maintain a little bit of airflow in your home, keep that temperature pretty consistent, and again, providing energy saving. The other label I want you to look for is V or MV. That's the type of electricity or volts that your system is going to have. Once you have found those, go to the box of the thermostat. Or if you're buying one of these online, just go to the specifications and look for something called compatibility. I'm going to pull this one up right here. On the back, it says it's good with heating and cooling and forced air and hot water systems, but it has a whole lot of systems this does not work with, like electric baseboard, heat pumps, multi-stage heating and cooling. So now I know this is not the thermostat for me. I would put that back. I would grab maybe that programmable thermostat or that smart thermostat. Compatibility, great. Not compatible with the electric baseboards, but I'm good for that multi-stage and variable stage difference. So I know that I'm good to go. The compatibility is going to help you with almost every single one of your installation issues. If for some reason you're still having trouble finding the compatibility between the box or the requirements and specifications and what you did as a system, do yourself a favor. Take a picture of that label you saw on your system. When you're in the store, ask one of our associates. Or you can sometimes call the manufacturer. You can sometimes call your HVAC specialist or your HVAC company. There's a lot of resources for you. Just make sure that you know what system you have, and more importantly, that the thermostat you're going to pick out is compatible with that system. From there, we got easy stuff to do. That is the most important step. Now you just have to replace that thermostat. One of the biggest things I always tell people is consider grabbing all of your tools. Have them on a little table, have them on a little chair or a stool, whatever's that like you do, right in front of that thermostat. That way you're not walking back to the garage or the office or any of that kind of stuff. You're not going into that junk drawer to find that one tiny little screwdriver. Have everything that you need right there. Makes the way easier process. Let's start talking about some of the tools that you're going to need. First, you need a screwdriver. Right? There's a lot of different screws in this. So we recommend that you get a Phillips head and a flat head. And sometimes even those teeny tiny little screwdrivers, those are called pocket screwdrivers. You'd be surprised at how tiny some of the screws in your previous thermostat or new thermostat really can be. Now, one of the reasons I love the new smart thermostats, often they give you a tiny screwdriver. And I'll tell you, as a screwdriver hoarder, I love this. I keep all the screwdrivers that they give me. So look for your smart thermostat. If you're buying one of those, they provide one for you. Drills, sometimes impact drivers are a really good thing to have when installing a new thermostat. But let me caution you. Yeah, this can drill into walls and studs really, really easily, but you can also over tighten on your thermostat, which means you could crack the plastic, you could really damage that, or flat out break it so it won't function. So, this is to drill into your wall only. You should not be doing any final tightening. You're going to see me use this a lot today, and I'm going to remind you not to over tighten. Do all of your final tightening with a screwdriver. Very, very important, even if you turn all that torque all the way down. Then, of course, there's wire strippers. Most of the time, I would tell you that these are nice to have, not a need to have, but you know what? Sometimes wires are a little bit messed up. Maybe they don't have enough metal showing. Maybe you need to just make them a little bit nicer. Well, wire strippers are really going to come in handy there. Almost all wire strippers now have labels right by the different gauges so that you can tell and take all the guesswork out of trying to strip that rubber coating off. Just so you know, all thermostat wire, hey, so you'll know that when you need it. There's a couple other things that are good to have just in case. I always recommend that you have a pen or a pencil to help you mark on the wall when and if you need to. Masking tape or painter's tape, kind of like a double secret probation secret weapon, right? We're going to be labeling, we're going to be photographing some wires, but just in case some of those fail, you need a way to label your wires. Grab some masking tape or some painter's tape. Levels, these are fantastic to have, right? This little torpedo level is good. If you get those big old levels, they might get a little bit hard to deal with and wonky, but you know what? Okay. Another reason why I like smart thermostats, they come with a level built into them. I'll show you that one here in just a second. And then batteries, especially if you're going to have a programmable or some of the eco or lower models of some of those smart thermostats, they actually have battery backups. Now, that is not to keep the thermostat on when the power goes off or your system goes out. What that does is save the information that you have programmed into it, right? We've been working really hard trying to get those programs right in there just because you have a power flicker or something kind of goes wrong at the end of the day. You don't want to lose all that programming that you do it. So, like I said, it just saves that information. Definitely good to have, and I'll show you where those go here in just a second. So, now that you have all your tools gathered, it's time to actually do the replacing. First thing that you're going to do, go turn off the power, right? We're working with small wires, but when it comes to electrical, even a small amount of electricity can really in or worse. So make sure you go to the electrical panel. This could be in a basement, this could be in a garage, this could be in a utility closet. We see the in laundry rooms a lot, maybe underneath the stairs, or sometimes, like I said, just in the hallway, maybe even a back room. Open up that electrical panel and look for the HVAC breaker. Turn that thing off. Very rarely is that power going to be tied to the circuit in your home. But just in case, your thermostat's in your living room or your thermostat's in the kitchen, something like that, turn the breaker off to that room as well. It's always just a case. Now, if you're nervous about finding the right breaker, don't want to get electrocuted, which is definitely good, safety first, turn the power off to the whole house. There is a main electrical shutoff in your home. If you want to learn more about that, come check out our systems basic workshop. We go over that in detail. Once you turn the power off to the whole house, yeah, you might need a flashlight, headlamps. They look cool. They work well. Do this during the day, whatever you need to do, but make sure the electricity is off to the unit that you've been using. Next, you just got to do some of the work. And it's actually a lot easier than you think. What I'm going to do now is I am going to show you how to do this demonstration. I'm going to go to another camera, so bear with me. I'm going to show you up close how to replace this thermostat. Check it out. All right, here it is my thermostat. This one is a programmable. Like I said, that's the one I'm going to. You can see on this one that the power is off. There's nothing being displayed right here, so I know that I am ready to go. Taking this thermostat cover off is a lot easier than you think. Most of the time, they're just held in by some small, easy plastic clips around that thermostat. But sometimes the tiny little screw at the top, more often a tiny little screw at the bottom that is holding this plastic cover on. That is where your tiny little pocket screwdriver is going to come into place. If it does, unscrew it. You'll be able to remove it. Sometimes with some of these plastic clips, it helps if you're using a flathead screwdriver to press on these tabs. I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. Just press, see? Press in there. That thing comes right off. This is essentially what that plastic cover is. You can see the pins right here. They're going to go into that receptacle. And right in here is where those backup batteries go. Again, that just saves that programming information. Now, when you take this off, you might be tempted to just throw this away. I'm going to caution you not to do that because you never know what's going to happen with this new thermostat. Wiring could go wrong, something could get shorted, or you know what? These are really smart and really cool devices. They might just be defective. It happens, right? We know about a defective equipment at some time. So don't throw that away just yet. I don't want you in a bad situation to have to redo. Keep it, and then you're going to get to this point. This is what you see. Yours may look a little bit different. You may not have all these wires. You may have another one just hanging out over here. All of that is okay, especially if your thermostat has been working properly this whole time. But before you do anything with these wires, you want to photograph those wires. This is really important because knowing where these wires were is so important to know where they're going. Now, take a look at the slides in that PowerPoint that you see. You can see the red is going to RH. You can see the yellow wire is going into Y. You can see that the green is going into G, white into W, and C, in this case for cyan, not B for blue, is going into C. If you do see a B receptacle in your thermostat, that is for black. Okay, that is for black. C is blue in this case, and that is for cyan. Now, you may think that everything is just color coded, and that's not always the case. These wires just carry an electrical signal. While HVAC specialists and electricians typically do that, they don't have to. So always do yourself a favor. Take out your phone, take a picture of those wires where they currently are. That way you know where they're going to go. But still, sometimes things happen, right? Things happen with your phone. Sometimes you drop it in the sink or the toilet. Sometimes the iCloud just doesn't back up. Or you know what? In my case, a 4-year-old takes it, runs it, and you can't find it for 6 hours. Been there. So what you want to do is label these wires. One of my favorite things about new thermostats and the way they come is they actually give you some stickers. Let's see those right here. Those stickers will help you label these wires. So in this case, I would just take off the Y. I would wrap it around the wire that's going into my Y receptacle. In this case, it is yellow. Quick note, if you're seeing multiple numbers on those stickers like Y1, Y2, G1, G2, those types of things, always go with the first number. You only have one wire. For example, I only have one yellow wire here. So in this case, I would take off the Y1 sticker from these labels, wrap around my yellow wire, and I'm good to go. Once these wires have been photographed and labeled, you're going to remove them. That's really, really easy. Take that pocket screwdriver or that tiny little screwdriver that you were provided and simply undo the screws that is holding these wires in. Now, lefty loosey, righty tighty, that old saying, well, it really applies here. Just a couple of turns, folks, not a ton. Not held in too hard. Your tiny little screws come out pretty quickly. All right, so all those screws have been taken out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a good old pair of needle nose pliers. You don't have to use these, but look at these things, man. I got big, fat fingers. It's hard for me to grab wires like that sometimes. So I'm just going to use some needle nose pliers. I'm simply just going to lift those wires out of that receptacle. Now this, oh, everyone wants to give me trouble, but not anymore. They come out pretty easily. There we go. Now I just have wires hanging out, and they've been removed from my wall plate. Now, this has essentially just been turned into a big hunk of plastic. In this case, you see this is being held to the wall by 2 different screws. Sometimes yours is only held by 1, sometimes it's held by 4. Wherever you see screws, you're going to want to take those out. We're going to remove this wall cover. hang on, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. This is with a drill. Again, this is a great opportunity to use one, but not when we're tightening things down. So sorry for the noise. All right. Slide the wires right through. Drop your screws on the ground. And there we have it. That wall plate has been taken off. Look, just a piece of plastic that wires go into. This is the heart of the thermostat. You're just going to see a hole in your wall with some wires sticking out. That is absolutely okay. By the way, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes there's some wires hanging out back there. So if you've got a pretty new system and you always see one or two wires hanging out because you've had a pretty simple thermostat, push your finger back there. You might see one or two loose wires. What we have to do now is we have to put the new wall plate on, and that's to look something like this. By the way, I always love smart thermostats because they give you all these warnings. That's telling you to do what I told you to do earlier and just turn that breaker off. Let me take that label right out. But this is that new wall plate. Sometimes you're going to install the wall plate right to the wall by itself. Sometimes you're going to replace it with a trim kit, right? Think about this thermostat. If I put this over, I'm going to have some holes hanging out around here. That's not exactly super nice to look at, even once I have this beautiful, sleek thermostat on there, right? I'm going to have some walls and things patch up. You have two options here. One, you can fix these holes. One great way to do that is with spackling. You can fill those in. Once they're filled, you can sand either the wet sponge or sandpaper and paint over that. You have an absolutely ready to go beautiful wall that your sleek thermostat can stand on. Or you don't want to patch those, you can install a trim kit or a wall plate. Every single thermostat comes with one of these. You see, this is purely aesthetic, right? So it would sit on the wall, something like that. This does not serve a purpose. This does not change functionality at all. But just make the decision if you want that back wall plate or you want the thermostat by itself. Here's another great example of a wall plate. Remember, I showed you that manual thermostat earlier. Looks something kind of like this. You can also install it like that, right? So again, purely aesthetic. In this case, I am going to install this wall plate just to kind of show you how to do it, but it is not necessary. One of the other things I love about smart thermostats is they come with these metal anchors that kind of help you do this to the wall. In this case, you're going to see four screw holes with some optional ridges here for guide screws. These four holes will match with the holes over this, which will match the two holes over this. So once a screw goes through these holes and into the wall, it will hold this really nicely in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw and attach this to my wall with a screw into one of these ridges. Then I'm going to put my wall plate over it, screw through these two holes to hold my wall plate and that anchor to my wall. And then I'm going to screw this wall plate to it, making everything hold in place. So, first thing you got to do, and don't ever forget this step and be like me, bring the wires through that hole. Get your drill. And these ridges that you see around, they are so that you can install a guide screw. Guide screws are really important so that you can keep these and make sure that they are level. So I'm going to quickly do this. Trying to keep my head out of the shop. Oh, all right. So we can see that it's not all the way tightened down. That's really important because I want to be able to move this just a little bit. Why do I want to move that a little bit? To level it, right? If I were to install it like this, that crazy. But if I were to install like this and then install the thermostat on there, it would be a little bit wonky. So what I want to do, I want to bring this to level, and then I want to tighten this down just a little bit. Move this a little bit. There we go. Now I'm nice and level. Then I'm going to take the wall plate. Remember, slide those screws through it. line up those screw holes. There they are. Line them up with those screw holes, and then put screws through those to hold this onto the wall plate. Now, yeah, I'm using a drill here, but remember, hold on a second, folks. It's just not going to work on me. Mm, all right. Let me get one of the actual right screws. That one's not fitting either. You know what? Real quick, we're just going to take this off. This is why we do this, folks. In this case, we'll screw this right to the wall. There we go. I still have holes right here in the wall. Again, don't over tighten here, folks. Do not ever over tighten. Don't want to break this plastic. All right. So we've got that ready to go. Now it's time to put our wall plates onto our trim kit. Slide these wires through. Line those screws up. We have a little click right here to the nice guide. It just takes a second to line up. All right. And then we'll put two screws top and bottom. And remember, all of our final tightening is going to go with a screwdriver. There we go. Tighten this down with a screwdriver. All right. So we have our wall plate attached to the thermostat. Now it's time to attach the wires. Here's the really important part. We know where these wires are going because we know where they've been. They're all labeled, they're all photographed, and it's time to put these in. Now again, I like to use needle nose pliers here. Makes the project a whole lot easier, but you don't have to. Just use your fingers. And in this case, we've got little tabs all around the thermostat. Little tiny tabs, kind of like those old boombox speakers that you used to do. In this case, I'll press this tab down. I'll put one of the wires in, and you'll see that that tab will remain down once all the wires have been inserted. I'm going to start right here with my yellow wire that was labeled Y. Grab that with a pair of pliers, push this tab down, put it in. There we go. Like I said, I know it's been inserted the right way because that tab is staying down. And I'll just follow suit. Take my red wire here. It was labeled R. Pull this white wire out just a little bit. Let's do it more than one time. That's okay. I got my wires tangled here. And time for G. Where's G go? All the way back over here on this left side. Paint by numbers here, folks. And then C. Now in this case, remember, C is for cyan. That is blue. B is black. There we go. All of my wires have been put in where they are. I see I've got my tabs down. I know they're in the right space. Now it's just time to install this wall cover. Here's one of the things I love about smart thermostats. They have those plastic tabs we were talking about earlier, and all you have to do is line up that pin. So I'll line up the pin, and it will simply snap on. There we go. By the way, you see this one's got a little bit of flex. Don't be worried about that, especially some of your smart thermostats. They have a push function for select. That way that you can program them from that. It's kind of like hitting the enter button. So it'll snap on. Once you turn the power back on, you'll know there's a connection because this will light up, and you'll be good to go. But if there's a little bit of flex right there that you see, it's not trying to install and pop off. It's just that select button. You can kind of hear the click on screen. Okay, so my wall cover is on, my thermostat cover is on. Now it's time to go flip that power back on and program that thermostat. Here's the thing. Every single thermostat is programmed just a little bit differently. So go to your manufacturer's instructions, make sure that you program it based on their instructions, what you need for your house, you'll be good to go. One note, if for some reason you did something wrong, smart thermostats will tell you something went wrong. They'll have something that says, hey, I don't sense the air conditioner. I don't sense the air. I don't sense, I'm not getting enough power as I need. This will tell you when something did or didn't go the right way. So that is something to think about. Another benefit to having a smart thermostat. So that is how you install a thermostat. I'm going to come back to our other camera over here and simply wrap some things up. Remember, we went over a lot today, but it's a very, very simple process as long as you take the right preparation. Mainly getting the right thermostat, mainly choosing the system that is supposed to go with it, and of course, gathering all your tools and that step by step that we went over. Also, remember, what we just showed you applies to all thermostats. Power goes off. The thermostat cover comes off. Photograph and label the wires. Remove the wires. Then you can remove that wall plate. Install your new wall plate with or without that trim kit or that wall cover. Then put your wires where they're supposed to go. Know where they go because you know where they were and they were photographed and they were labeled. Once the wires are installed, put that new thermostat cover on, turn the power back on, and get to programming and using your new thermostat. It is something you go out, you can get done easily, even today if you wanted to. If you want to check out some more of the things that we offer, check out that DIY workshop registration page or the Homeowner 101 workshop registration page. We would absolutely love to see it in one of our other ones. Last but not least, I just want to thank you. You could have been doing anything else, but you came to us for help and you let us walk you through this project. Don't forget to download those resources and come back and see us and watch this webcast anytime. Thanks again.